Thank you very much. It was more than inspiring, I would say. It's really, we are very grateful to have had this introduction to our session. And I think it's also very good that we can have a kind of an exchange now with you, because I think you have put on our table a number of very critical questions and very fundamental questions, which I think the sector is reflecting on for now some years. And one of it is really the question of regulation, whether we should really stick to the regulation. It's something that often it's felt by our members as a burden that we cannot escape ourselves, because we are at the end responsible of the buildings, and the responsibility by lawyers is indeed written with the regulation. Yesterday I was in a conference where they were saying that the next stage of urbanism is indeed to get rid of the layers of lawyers. That's indeed embedding, and they are really the main barriers to build what is needed today. But I'd like to really open the floor now to get some views of what is your thinking, and what this very inspiring first speech is, how does it, what is the resonance with your own experience and with the decision you have to take in terms of leading a new sector. I know many faces, so if you don't speak, I will point out. I leave you one option, and I'm asking the first question then. One of the key questions we have to discuss today is also, first, indeed, to try to design housing differently, but to do it with the tenants or with the residents, and to try to do it in partnerships. And you have dreamed a lot, but to my understanding of your presentation, it's like a lot of dream with your company, with your colleagues. Have you shared the dreams with others? How do you build the dreams?
It is a paradox to be a dreamer on behalf of someone. And I must admit that when we started years ago, and we took the chance to step in and say, this direction is wrong, let's do it in another way. And we had to take Fru Jensen, the average Danish people, in. We have to say she believes in that. We had to, and we were insisting of that she should be a part of the problem, the solution. But we never really asked what Fru Jensen meant. You know, we didn't ask her, we didn't involve her, but we thought that we had the right to do it on behalf of her, because we thought that what we were dreaming at was a big dream. Was a dream which she was part of that dream, but I know that it's full of conflict. What I'm saying in that way, I still think, in Denmark, just before the Second World War and after, we did fantastic things here, and I think it has to do with the word you were mentioning. It was a solidaric movement. To be solidaric, I think, has to do with the fact that then to be solidaric means that we belong to a bigger thing, a camaraderie or something, and to be solidaric is to be part of something where you can share confidence. And in that period, the fight of lavatory and views and balconies and all that, we did fantastic thing, and even this architects were solidaric with that improvement of life condition. Now today, to be a worker, we earn a hell lot of money. We have all the washing machines we need. There are tables and chairs enough. We have everything. I will ask the chairman, I will ask this, what do you think we could be solidaric about? What could that story be for a story to be told to the big world, to Fru Jensen? Because we are administrating quite a few of dreams, but as I said earlier, so I'm asking in a way back again to the what are you? Hvor klør det hen hos jer? What are you fighting for? What are you, the solidarity, what is it to be solidaric? About what?
Merci. Thank you. I will speak French. I'm not as expressive as our colleague, our Danish colleague, because he was very enthusiastic in his presentation. The content was enthusiastic, as well as the way he expressed himself, because he lives architecture. His architecture at work. He goes back to the places he worked on a couple of years later, and I think that is fantastic. I think all architects should do that, to go back to what they built a couple of years later. I myself have a background of architecture, and it is really exciting to see this kind of project with a community dimension, with a solidarity dimension between the residents or the tenants. And apart from the 6 blue units, all the projects that we have seen were large-scale projects. Of course, the architect will not choose those tenants who will live in those dwellings, in those units. How come that these people decide to live together? Maybe because they are given the opportunity to come together thanks to green spaces, thanks to large kitchen, because something is done in the very design that will help them meet and interact with each other. But social housing cannot accommodate each and everyone. We know that we have long lists of people applying for social housing, and those people have hardly any resources. Is it possible, therefore, to create a mix, a social mix in those projects that you have made? But before that, let me first congratulate and commend you for all those projects. I must say I commend you and, of course, your colleagues and the team that worked on those projects.
That was thank you. Could you raise the question once again? I'm not only very short, because that was a long speech, but
I can summarize it maybe. I'll summarize it as I understood it. It's mainly to see that indeed here it's a lot about collective living, but it's not obvious to manage to live together. And we have, in most of the time, quite a number of problems, because our tenants are very vulnerable people. And the collective living is not something that can last long necessarily. So the question was whether you think that it's because of the architecture and the thinking behind, what is making the fact that the glue is still gluing after 30 years in the project that you have shown?
And if you're talking about the living community project, they started themselves, and that would be, there were 30 families, I remember, and they're not the same families today. So, because the children grows up and they're movable. They move to other cities, but there are still a few of the old families back. But then they have been very good in making a system of change that you can, if one moves, another one comes in, and they are standing in a queue. Now these people are high educated, and many of them are doctors, blah, blah, well educated, no drugs, no problem that way. But still, I think that of course the fact that we have tried to make green space and of course it's a part of that the queue is long. It's popular. People like to. It's popular, and it's pretty cheap, and the queue is long. I know that. Yeah. And no, I can't really give any kind of. I can't give an explanation like a medicine. I can only say that we, as I'm sure you could see, we are aware of being listening to the landscape, and we are aware of the quality. Yeah, we all know that, but no, I can't answer it. No, actually, it's a very hard question to answer, except that I only can say if we all contribute that way, in this direction, it will be good. And it's not that way that architects are the sensible people and the bureaucracy are the not sensible people. We all know the value of a break. We all know the value of a green space. We all know the value of a fantastic view. We all know the value of a material which are not poisoned. It's a love story we have to share instead of, and I can't explain it. I just want to be part of it, and I want to be part, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of nervous, sensitive architects. We want to be in dialogue of something which we think are worth of having a party around, instead of these dialogue of conflicts and I need you should, you didn't do what I tell you. We want to share something with the bureaucracy and the power.
There is two other questions that I have seen so far, and indeed I think this is a very unusual answer to the question of social cohesion, to answer landscape, and it's an interesting one, I suppose, that we have to also reflect on. I think Mr. Anderson, you wanted to say something, and then George also wanted to take the floor after, and then maybe we can take those two questions and you answer after.
I think to get the answer on the question, I don't think that the architect can give the answer. I don't think that the tenants can give the answer, that the owner can give the answer, or the planner or the municipality. I think that the answer is in a process, and the answer is working together. But I know that Mr. Arnfred, he represent a tradition in architecture. He is first and foremost thinking on how does the collective, how does the organism, how does people function, the social part before the technical part. And that's a tradition in Danish architecture, making social housing. Other architects are thinking on how to make a unique building, and then the social life must afterwards cope into the result. The social process is very strong in the basic thinking of how to do housing, and perhaps that's a difference between Mr. Jens Arnfred and a lot of other architects.
Thank you, George. You wanted to take the floor too?
Oui, merci.
Yes, thank you. Mr. the Architect, we need dreams, and we need dreamers. Unfortunately, once the first sketches are done, we realize that the standards imposed by the administration prevent the dream to come true. In France, we are currently asking the French Housing Ministry to put a hold on the existing norms, because 30% of the construction costs are due to excessive standardization. I will retain three things from our presentation, and you will tell me if you agree. The first thing is that you often referred to the need to industrialize the building blocks. I think it is very important in order to reduce the construction costs. We need to put in place wood, concrete, or other types of construction lines that will help us to reduce the cost. Because today, what happens is that industrialists come with their own products. These are heterogeneous products that are difficult to assemble, and it's quite difficult for us to make a choice. That's my first point. Second point, you very much insisted on the social aspect, on the need to live together, to act in solidarity, to have green spaces. These are values that we too try to promote as Secodas. I think that we should stop asking for subsidies to build up new buildings. We should rather say that whenever we build something new, we are not there to put a product on a given territory. We are there to create value on a territory, and we are there to listen to the people who will live in those buildings. We are also there as service providers. And this is something that Secodas is promoting on the day-to-day basis. That was my second point. Third point, in France, whenever you place orders, it's quite difficult for us to have a real say because the building companies are the ones which have the real power. And I think that the way procurement is done at European level should evolve so that the relationship between the architect and the owner takes precedence over the building companies.
Comment before then we give the floor to Jens for maybe a few words. It's not so much of a question, it's more a comment in general indeed that has been made about the fact that the rules we are part of it, but we cannot change them all. But there was some proposals on changing the music in which we are supposed to dance, you being the architects and the landlords.
But you know, the rules of in that way, I mean, Denmark is part of Europe, as you know, and we are, to be honest, there's a lot. We are in the middle of so many rules and regulations, and I think this is a condition. I was just, because and we all know that, and it's even in France, of course, and all over the world, and in the European world. I can't really answer. I can't really tell you what to do, except that we have the rules, but we have something which are bigger than the rules. It's such a hard thing for me to. But this is. I would like to share that with a formal organization. We all know that we have rules on all levels, and we know. I want to share with you that there is something which can make. There's something of such a beauty that all regulations doesn't means anything. And I need you to open that debate, and maybe you need an answer from a shaky architect to get closer to your dream, which I heard as, and I was happy of that that you are also in the middle of the regulation, and of course of that you are also a dreamer, as if you are a survivor, And that's a first step. I think you can, and also this whole discussion that we are artists and you are bureaucracy. No, we are all artists, and we all should have imaginations and longings, and let's share that as well. And because we have power, because we have intelligence, because we have a high income, why don't we go back to the bureaucracy with really good rules? With beautiful rules, regulations because of course we all know that society and people must be regulated. I mean, this is why we are sitting together now, to regulate each other, to get, we know that, and I'm not talking about anarchy, I'm sure it's your turn now. And I think you have power. If you don't have power, take it.
So indeed, I'd like to give one last possibility to speak to David Orr.
Thank you, Claire. We have been running a project encouraging people to think about the future. And we have asked people not to define what the future they expect, but to identify the future they want. What do you want your organization to look like in 20 years? Because if we don't know for ourselves the future that we want, then we can't ask the questions that will help to craft that future. I think the challenge here is about taking ownership of our own futures, not just being the passive recipients of what other people think we ought to do. And what I think we've heard from you in that presentation is how you invent your own future and then make the decisions that help to deliver it. We won't always get everything that we want, but unless we have a clear view of the future that we want, then we have no chance of being in control and owning our own futures. And when things are as tough as they are now, I think we cannot leave it to other people to have a better view about our future than we do.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to react or if it's fine for you, and then we can just close the session. Yeah.